Welcome to this deep dive. Today we're tackling iron, a really fundamental nutrient.
Absolutely.
You send over a great collection of sources: pediatric nutrition guides, NIH fact sheets, dietary data, info from a digestive health foundation, medical institutions too.
Yeah, pretty wide range.
So our goal here is to sift through all that, pull out what's most important, maybe a few surprises, and definitely the actionable stuff about iron for you.
Sounds good. Whether you're feeding a baby, pregnant, or just looking to, optimize your own health.
Exactly. Iron seems basic, but its impact is huge, right? From
Yeah.
day one all through life.
It really is quite remarkable when you look closely.
Okay, let's jump in. Why is iron just so vital? What's the core function?
Well, at its heart, it's absolutely essential for growth, for development across the whole lifespan.
Okay.
Its main job, the one most people know, is making hemoglobin. That's the protein in red blood cells.
Right, the oxygen carrier.
Exactly. It grabs oxygen in your lungs, delivers it everywhere your body needs it. And also myoglobin, which does a similar job, but specifically for muscles.
So fundamentally, it's about getting oxygen around, keeping everything running.
Precisely. But it's not just oxygen transport. It's also critical for brain development.
Oh, interesting. Especially early on.
Especially early on, yeah. And it's key for a healthy immune system, for energy levels, think focus, learning ability. And of course, it prevents iron deficiency anemia, which is actually one of the most common nutrient deficiencies worldwide, according to the sources.
Wow, that common. It's amazing
Yeah.
something so widespread can have such broad effects. Now, the amount we need,
Yeah,
that changes, right? It's not one size fits all.
not at all. It shifts quite a bit depending on your life stage.
Let's start with babies then.
Okay, so newborns arrive with iron stores they built up in the womb. These usually last a few months, maybe 4 to 6.
Right.
But around the 6-month mark, those stores start running low and they need iron from solid foods. The U.S. recommendation for infants 7 to 12 months is 11 milligrams a day.
11 milligrams. That sounds quite high for a baby, but I think one source mentioned there's some context needed there.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Yes, one of the pediatric sources, Solid Starts, pointed out that the 11 milligram figure is often based on the assumption that babies are getting iron mainly from things like fortified cereals, where the iron isn't absorbed as well.
Ah, okay.
Their take is that if you're offering a good variety of actual iron-rich whole foods, many babies might actually meet their needs with less than 11 milligram.
That makes sense. It's about the type of iron source, too.
Exactly. And we should mention, formula is generally fortified with iron, so formula-fed babies usually get enough.
Okay.
Breast milk contains iron, but it's less concentrated, so some breastfed babies might need a supplement. That's definitely something to discuss with a pediatrician.
Good advice. So not just the number, but the source matters. What about as kids grow? Toddlers, older kids?
Right, the needs change again. Toddlers, say 1 to 3 years old, need about 7 milligrams a day.
Okay.
Then for kids aged 4 to 8, it goes up to 10 milligrams. And then interestingly, for the 9 to 13 age group, it dips slightly to 8 milligrams.
Right. And then teens.
Then we hit the teenage years. Boys, 14 to 18, need around 11 milligrams daily.
Okay.
But girls, same age range, 14 to 18, need significantly more, about 15 milligrams a day. That's mainly because menstruation starts.
Ah, that makes total sense. And for adults?
For adults, 19 up to 50, men need about 8 milligrams a day, similar to the teen boys.
Okay.
But women in that same age group, 19 to 50, need much more, 18 milligrams daily, again, to make up for menstrual losses. That was highlighted in several sources.
18 versus 8. That's a huge difference.
It really is. Then pregnancy. The need skyrockets, jumps to 27 milligrams per day.
Wow, 27 milligrams.
Yeah, it's crucial. For the mother's increased blood volume and for the baby's development, the NIH, the American Pregnancy Association, they all stress this.
Got it. And after pregnancy, during breastfeeding?
Needs drop back down to around 9 milligrams daily while breastfeeding. Okay. And then for older adults over 51, the recommendation settles back to 8 milligrams a day for both men and women.
Okay, that covers most ages. But what about vegetarians? I remember seeing something specific about that.
Yes, a really important point brought up by the NIH and the specific review on vegetarians. Because plant-based iron, non-heme iron, isn't absorbed as well, vegetarians actually need almost twice as much iron, maybe 1.8 times the regular amount.
Nearly double. That's significant. Something vegetarians really need to be aware of.
Absolutely.
So, okay, what actually happens if we don't get enough iron? We hear anemia, but is that the whole story?
Well, iron deficiency anemia is the main condition we talk about. It happens when your body literally doesn't have enough iron to make enough hemoglobin.
Right, so not enough oxygen transport.
Exactly. And that reduced oxygen capacity causes problems. One source mentioned that deficiency can progress to anemia over time, impacting brain development, mood, learning, growth, especially in kids.
And are there early signs,
Mm.
particularly for babies? How would you know?
Yeah, for infants, some signs to watch for are paleness, poor sleep, being more irritable, less interested in playing or activities,
Mm.
maybe difficulty feeding, lower appetite, just seeming tired. And these symptoms can creep up slowly over weeks or months.
So it might not be obvious right away.
Exactly. That's why routine screening for anemia is often recommended around the 1-year mark.
Okay. And for older kids and adults,
Yeah.
what are the symptoms?
Very similar in some ways. Persistent tiredness, fatigue is a big one, shortness of breath, pale skin, cold hands and feet often,
Uh-huh.
dizziness, headaches, irritability again, sometimes muscle cramps, weird changes in fingernails like becoming spoon-shaped.
Spoon-shaped nails, that's
Wait,
specific.
it is. Also a fast heart rate, a sore tongue, and sometimes those strange cravings for non-food things, ice, clay, dirt, that's called pica.
Pica, right. That
Yeah.
sounds like a real red flag.
It usually signals a more severe deficiency, yeah. The Cleveland Clinic source laid out the stages. First, your iron stores get low. Then your body starts making red blood cells that don't have enough hemoglobin. And finally, your overall hemoglobin levels drop below normal, and that's when anemia symptoms really kick in.
Okay. Are certain people more at risk?
Yes, definitely. Pregnancy and breastfeeding, as we mentioned, due to the high demands.
Right.
Frequent blood donors. Anyone who's had major surgery, especially GI or weight loss surgery, as that can affect absorption.
Makes sense.
Women with heavy periods are quite commonly affected. Also, people with GI disorders like celiac or inflammatory bowel disease, because those interfere with nutrient absorption.
Mm-hmm.
Chronic conditions like cancer or heart failure can play a role. And, of course, a diet low in iron or a vegetarian or vegan diet if it's not carefully planned.
That vegetarian review mentioned higher rates of depleted stores, right?
Yes, especially in premenopausal women. They definitely showed a higher likelihood of low iron stores compared to meat eaters.
And if deficiency isn't treated, what are the potential longer-term issues?
It can lead to complications. Brain fog was mentioned, developmental delays in children.
Yeah.
It can also strain the heart over time, potentially leading to enlargement or even heart failure in severe chronic cases.
Wow.
And restless leg syndrome has also been linked to low iron in some people.
Okay, so clearly vital, and deficiency is serious. Let's switch focus to getting enough. How do we get iron from food? I know there are different types.
That's right. Two main forms, heme iron and non-heme iron.
Heme and non-heme.
Heme iron comes from animal products, red meat, poultry, seafood. The key thing about heme is it's absorbed much more easily by the body, up to 30% absorption sometimes.
Okay, much higher.
Much higher. Non-heme iron is the type found in plant-based foods, beans, lentils, leafy greens, nuts, seeds, dried fruits. Also in iron-fortified foods.
Right.
Its absorption is way lower, maybe 2% to 10%. And importantly, how much you absorb is really influenced by other things you eat at the same time.
Ah, okay. So if you're relying mostly on plant sources, you need strategies to boost that lower absorption. What works?
Absolutely. Strategy is key. The most well-known trick is pairing non-heme iron foods with vitamin C.
Vitamin C.
Like citrus. Exactly. Citrus fruits, strawberries, bell peppers, tomatoes, broccoli. Vitamin C helps your small intestine grab more of that non-heme iron.
So like strawberries and lemon dressing on a spinach and chickpea salad.
Perfect example. Or scrambled tofu with bell peppers and tomatoes. Or adding mango and orange juice to a spinach and almond butter smoothie.
Got it. Any other ways to enhance absorption?
Yes, another useful tip is actually combining plant and animal sources in the same meal. The proteins in meat can help your body absorb more iron from the plant foods eaten alongside it.
Oh, interesting. Like adding some ground beef to a bean soup.
Exactly like that.
Okay. Now, are there things that hinder absorption? Things to avoid, maybe?
Yes, definitely. Calcium is a big one. Calcium-rich foods can interfere with non-heme iron absorption.
So like dairy.
Primarily dairy, yes. Dairy itself isn't high in iron, but the calcium content is the issue. It's often recommended to leave maybe a 1 to 2 hour gap between high calcium foods and your main non-heme iron sources.
Great tip. Anything else?
Tannins. Found in tea and wine. They can also inhibit non-heme iron absorption, so maybe don't have your cup of tea right with your lentil stew. Space them out a bit.
Okay. Tea and wine. Got it.
And an interesting one, cooking in cast iron pans. It can actually increase the non-heme iron content of the food, especially with acidic foods or longer cooking times.
Really? Just using a cast iron skillet?
Yeah, a little bit leaches into the food. Also, choosing iron-fortified foods like cereals, breads, pasta can help bump up your intake, check the labels.
Right.
And even simple things like adding finely ground nuts and seeds to porridge, sauces, or using them as a coating can add a bit more iron.
These are all great practical tips. Now, the sources had some pretty long lists of iron-rich foods. Can we hit some highlights? Maybe start with the heme sources?
Sure. For heme iron from animal products, red meats are top contenders. Beef, lamb, pork, bison, venison.
Okay.
Poultry, especially dark meat and liver, is good too. Though, remember the caution about liver during pregnancy due to high vitamin A?
Right. Good reminder.
Seafood is fantastic for heme iron. Canned clams are incredibly high. Oysters, mackerel, sardines, salmon, shrimp, tuna, all good sources.
Lots of options.
And
there.
eggs contain a mix of both heme and non-heme iron.
Okay, now what about the plant-based non-heme powerhouses?
Plenty there too. Beans and legumes are stars.
Mm.
Black beans, lentils, chickpeas, kidney beans, edamame, soybeans, white beans. The list goes on.
Legumes, got it.
Grains and cereals, things like amaranth, quinoa, iron-fortified oatmeal, and breakfast cereals, enriched breads and pastas, teff,
Okay.
vegetables. Dark leafy greens are famous for iron spinach, kale, Swiss chard, collards. Also, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, potatoes with the skin, tomato products like paste and sauce.
Good variety. Fruits.
Fruits are generally lower, but dried fruits pack more punch per bite. Think dried apricots, prunes, raisins, figs. Some fresh ones like berries and watermelon have a bit too.
Nuts and seeds.
Definitely. Almonds, cashews, pumpkin seeds, sesame seeds, and tahini, chia seeds, hemp seeds.
Right.
And even things like dark chocolate, molasses, tofu, and tempeh contribute non-heme iron.
That's a really helpful overview. Lots of choices across different food groups.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes diet isn't enough. When do supplements come into play?
Supplements can be necessary, yeah. Especially if dietary intake is low, or if absorption is a problem, or during times of really high need.
Like babies, pregnant women.
Exactly. Those groups and anyone diagnosed with iron deficiency anemia, supplements come in different forms, liquid drops for babies usually, capsules or tablets for older kids and adults, and in more severe cases, sometimes iron infusions given intravenously are needed.
I think I read liquid iron might absorb better, but maybe it has more side effects.
That can be the case, yes. Liquid might absorb slightly better for some, but it's also more commonly associated with digestive upset, constipation, nausea, dark stools.
Okay.
It can also stain teeth, which is annoying. Some newer supplements use heme iron, which might be gentler on the stomach for some people.
Okay.
But the absolute key thing, no matter the form, is always talk to a doctor before starting iron supplements.
Right. Don't self-diagnose or self-prescribe.
Definitely not. You need proper testing to know if you need it, what type, and the right dose. Too much iron can be harmful, even toxic, especially for young children.
That's crucial.
Yeah.
Are there interactions to worry about with other meds or supplements?
Yes, there can be. Iron can interact with certain medications like levodopa for Parkinson's, levothyroxine for thyroid issues. Also, proton pump inhibitors used for acid reflux can reduce iron absorption. And other supplements, especially calcium and zinc, can interfere with iron absorption too, so you might need to time them separately.
Okay. Important to coordinate with a doctor or pharmacist.
Absolutely. And always, always keep iron supplements securely away from children. The warning labels are there for a reason. Accidental overdoses can be fatal for kids.
A very serious point. Now, we touched on vegetarians earlier, but that review had some specific findings. Can you recap those?
Yeah, that review confirmed that vegetarians, especially premenopausal women, generally have lower iron stores, lower ferritin levels compared to non-vegetarians.
Wow.
And it reiterated that 1.8 times higher requirement estimate because of the lower absorption of non-heme iron and inhibitors in plant foods.
Right.
Interestingly, while some studies found similar rates of actual anemia, low hemoglobin, many others did find higher rates of anemia in vegetarian women compared to non-vegetarians.
So lower stores are more common, and anemia might be more common too, particularly in women.
That seems to be the trend in the research, yes. Vegetarian men seem to have more similar rates of anemia to non-vegetarian men, though their stores might still be a bit lower. Vegans might be at even higher risk.
So, given that, what are the key takeaways for vegetarians trying to ensure adequate iron?
The main strategies are consciously include lots of iron-rich plant foods. That's step 1.
Okay.
Step 2, Consistently pair them with vitamin C sources at meals. That's probably the biggest impact booster.
Vitamin C. Got it.
Then consider food preparation methods that reduce phytic acid in grains and legumes, things like soaking, sprouting, fermenting.
Ah, like soaking beans before cooking.
Exactly. Also, making use of iron-fortified foods. And being mindful of those inhibitors, tannins, in tea coffee, calcium, try to separate them from main iron-rich meals.
Great practical advice. And finally, pregnancy. We mentioned the huge jump in needs. What's the bottom line for pregnant individuals?
The bottom line is that 27 milligram daily requirement is serious business. Deficiency during pregnancy isn't just risky for the mother, possibly causing anemia.
Right.
It also increases risks for the baby. Low birth weight, preterm birth, low iron stores in the infant, which can impact brain development down the line.
So the stakes are really high.
They really are, which is why healthcare providers very often recommend a daily iron supplement for pregnant women, alongside focusing on iron-rich food.
Okay. This has been incredibly comprehensive.
Yeah.
So much detail packed in there. What are the final key thoughts you want to leave listeners with?
I think the main thing is just recognizing how truly vital iron is at every single life stage. It's not just some minor mineral.
Yeah.
And understanding the difference between heme and non-heme iron, and knowing those simple tricks to boost absorption, especially of non-heme iron, that really empowers you to make better dietary choices.
Right. Taking control.
Exactly. And please don't hesitate to talk to your doctor or a dietitian about your iron status. Get tested if you have concerns, especially during pregnancy, infancy, or if you're vegetarian or vegan. Don't guess about supplements.
Good advice.
It can seem complex, but just grasping those basics, heme versus non-heme vitamin C pairing, watching inhibitors, can make a huge difference for you and your family's health.
Absolutely. We've covered a lot of ground today on iron, its critical roles, how needs change, how to get it, how to absorb it better, when supplements might be needed.
Yeah, a real deep dive.
So take a moment now. Think about what stood out most to you. Was it the different needs across a lifetime, the heme versus non-heme distinction? Maybe specific foods you could add to your diet. If you want to explore more, maybe look up the specific iron recommendation for your age and situation. Or find some tasty vitamin C-rich recipes to try with plant-based iron sources. Or even just use an online tool to check the iron content of your go-to meals.
Good ideas for next steps.
This whole exploration really shows how a nutrient like iron, something we might take for granted, has such a profound and complex role in our health. It definitely makes you think, what other fundamental aspects of nutrition or health might hold similar hidden depths, just waiting for us to explore?